the woman looked at her boyfriend, who was about to be sentenced. Then, she started rhythmically tapping her cheek with her fingers. It turned out that she was trying to communicate with Jack in the courtroom using Morse code. However, the man acted as if he hadn't noticed anything. Annie had no choice but to try again. This time, Jack finally responded. His eyes started blinking in a rhythmic pattern. Annie immediately understood what Jack was trying to convey, so she quickly took out a notebook and wrote down the information Jack was passing to her. At that moment, the judge announced the verdict: Jack would be executed by firing squad in 2 days. That night, following Jack's instructions, Annie arrived at the designated location. At the wall, she pressed lightly on the second brick from the right, and a disguised hidden door slowly lifted. Inside, a sports car was parked. Annie didn't hesitate for a moment and drove the car to the next destination. She arrived at a mountain with a sign that read 37 kilometers. As soon as the car approached, a section of the mountain began to rise, revealing an entrance. Annie quickly drove inside. After entering the password that Jack had given her in advance, a secret compartment suddenly popped out from the wall. Inside, there was a large amount of cash, along with 3 vials of unknown substances. Following Jack's instructions, she took 1 yellow vial and 1 green vial. Then, she headed to the police station to meet the chief. The chief was one of Annie's admirers. Under Annie's constant seduction, the chief was completely mesmerized by her beauty. He told Annie that if she agreed to marry him, he would do anything for her. Seeing that the chief had fallen into her trap, Annie casually picked up the newspaper on his desk. She said she wanted to see what Jack, who was about to be executed, looked like. This request was a test to see if he was worthy of becoming her husband. The chief was reluctant because Jack was a well-known criminal in the area. Seeing his firm refusal, Annie pretended to turn around and leave, desperate to marry the beautiful Annie. The chief had no choice but to agree to her request. This was exactly the trap Annie had set. The two of them then went to the prison. The chief used the excuse of interrogating Jack to successfully obtain permission from the warden. Since being sentenced to execution, Jack had remained silent, acting as if he were too terrified to speak. He never communicated with anyone. He was taken to the interrogation room by the guards. The 3 of them stayed inside for half an hour. After half an hour, Annie and the chief left the prison together. The next morning, Jack was brought to the guillotine. He still looked dazed. The warden casually commented, "This kid has been like this ever since the verdict. He must have been scared out of his mind." Hearing this, the police chief suddenly remembered something. He recalled that when they searched Jack's house, they had found a large number of human skin masks. A sudden realization struck him: something was wrong. He rushed forward to stop the execution.